Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. If all goes according to plan, this video will be going up on April 23rd, which is Shakespeare Day. So in celebration, I figured I would read a couple of Shakespeare retellings in this video. I apologize, I don't actually have any books to hold up for you in this video because both of them are available on the Scribd app on my phone, and I didn't want to needlessly buy books that I had perfectly good access to. But yeah, so the books I'm going to be reading in this video are All's Well by Mona Awad, which is a retelling of the play All's Well That Ends Well by Shakespeare. I believe this one follows a drama teacher who's putting on a production of All's Well That Ends Well with her students, but the students are kind of staging a mutiny against her because they want to put on Macbeth. And the other book that I'm going to be reading in this video is The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. This one is a retelling of Twelfth Night, which I actually was in back in the day. I was Fabian. If I can find a picture, I will put it on screen so you can revel in that. I've actually been in a few different Shakespeare plays in my time. I was in Romeo and Juliet, I was Friar John, I was in Twelfth Night as Fabian, I was in The Tempest as a harpy, and I was in Midsummer Night's Dream as Helena. Clearly some exceptional roles. I am gonna go out for a little while, but I will make it a point to check in again when I have an update. So, see you then. I apologize. You are definitely gonna hear children screaming in this clip because they're all home from school and playing outside. I am 17% through The Last True Poets, and I'm 29% through All's Well. I have it on my phone, so I was just checking. Let's start with All's Well. We are following a drama teacher named Miranda Fitch, whose high school theater class is putting on a production of All's Well That Ends Well. However, they're kind of staging a mutiny against her because they really want to put on the play Macbeth. A large focus of the book is Miranda's struggle with a chronic pain that she has suffered since she took a fall off of stage, and that's kind of where the trippy aspect of this comes in. She's constantly popping pills to try and manage her pain. She's constantly going to see doctors to try and diagnose the pain and help her manage the pain, and you can tell that she's kind of not always coherent. She will call characters the wrong names, she will zone out, and then people will have to bring her back to reality. And she's also very paranoid throughout the book that people are talking about her or have a negative impression of her, are keeping notes on her. I'm just gonna keep going because they're not showing any signs of letting up, but I hope it's not bothering you too much. The unclear parts of this book are kind of her as a narrator not being fully cognizant the whole time. I think it is the author's goal to leave you with an unsettling feeling that you don't know if Miranda is a reliable narrator or not, if she's really abreast of what is happening around her or not. And I do think the depiction of chronic pain, even though I don't suffer with chronic pain, is really strong in this book. You can really feel her frustration through the pages, or in my case through the screen, and you do sympathize with her, especially when it comes to people who are very disbelieving of her pain or patronizing towards her. I'm interested to see where this is gonna go, but I do kind of feel like I'm gonna end this book with a lot of loose ends, not really having a lot of wrap up and resolution. The Last True Poets of the Sea, on the other hand, is going swimmingly well, and that is a pun. Like I mentioned before, this book is a Twelfth Night retelling, and I was in Twelfth Night, so I'm kind of familiar with the plot. I am making all the connections between the different characters and stuff like that. This book follows our main character, Violet, who lives in New York City but has been sent to Maine to live with her uncle for the summer because she's been doing drugs and kind of coming unhinged to a degree, mixing with bad crowds and being careless with her safety and her life. And her parents have sent her away after her brother attempted suicide to kind of separate maybe from the bad influences in her life and try to recover in a different environment. She's working at an aquarium, she's interacting with the kids around town. You can tell that she's dealing with a lot of shame around her actions, and her plan has been, since arriving, to just kind of disappear into the background. She's cut her hair, she's like sworn off a lot of things. She's made herself into a much more muted version of herself to try and blend in and not cause any more problems for herself or her family. And it seems like she's dealing with maybe a lot of guilt surrounding her brother's attempt. There's definitely some heavy material in this book, and I'm sure there's a lot more to come, but this book still has a very lighthearted feel that the author has managed to carry, where she's interacting with this group of teenagers and making friends and spending time with them, and the aquarium environment is very fun when she's at work and kind of a mess and clumsy and struggling to be useful at this job. So it definitely has that like summery, fun, lighthearted feel, but there's also a more serious, heavy side to it as well. So I really enjoy that because I love a hard-hitting contemporary, but I'm also craving some summery books right now, so this one feels like the perfect fit. So yeah, that is where we are with the books right now. So far, I'm enjoying them both. That is subject to change. But yeah, I'm gonna keep on reading. I'm gonna cook some dinner first, and then I will be back to do some reading from my bed. So I'll check in with you soon. Hello. I have been really loving the strawberry acai lemonade refresher from Starbucks lately, and I looked up how to make it at home, and this is what people said to do. Glass. Ice. The Tazo passion tea. Okay, I do it like a third. And then the rest, strawberry lemonade. Okay, let's see if this tastes right. That's pretty close. Hi, how's it going? I finished All's Well by Mona Awad. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely let other people's reviews and opinions of this book sway me going in. I had heard and read from almost every reviewer that this book was confusing, it leaves you wondering at the end. The last 100 pages makes no sense, doesn't wrap up conclusively, and I definitely let that sway my opinions going into this book. Did I leave this book confused? Yes. Is it because the ending makes no sense? That I am unsure of. I feel like maybe I am just not clever enough to understand this ending, and I don't mean that as like a dig against myself, but I do feel like this book was ripe with references to different Shakespeare plays. At different points, it's using a play on words to get a point across. We're referencing different tropes throughout Shakespeare plays, and I'm picking up on all of this just as someone who has been in 4 Shakespeare plays in her life and has read a couple more, but not someone who has ever taken like an in-depth Shakespeare class. Even just with my limited understanding, I was picking on references to The Tempest, references to Macbeth, references to All's Well, of course, and various other Shakespeare plays. And I really think if I had like a better background understanding of all of Shakespeare's work, that this ending could have made sense to me. Like, I feel like it was there and it was cohesive to an extent. Obviously, the ending was still a little bit of that like drug-induced trippy feeling, but I think the pieces would have fit together better if I just had some more knowledge of Shakespeare. I'm so happy to be done with this book, and not because it was bad in any way, but just because the descriptions of the pain that Miranda, our main character, is undergoing are so visceral. Like, the frustration and the hopelessness are crushing to you even as a reader, which is amazing. As an author, that has to be like the ultimate goal, to be able to manipulate how your reader is feeling to such a strong degree, and she definitely achieved that. Overall, I think this was a very well-written book by a very talented author, but I definitely can't say that I would recommend it to everyone. I think you already have to be interested in this kind of uncanny, unsettling, weird, borderline horror type of a book to actually enjoy this book at all. Think something like It Follows to Ground, or I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Those are the types of books that this one kind of reminds me of, where it doesn't always make sense. You kind of feel like you're in a fever dream. I did enjoy it a lot though. I think I would give it like a 4-star. But yeah, 1 book down, 1 book to go. I'm gonna try and plow through the last 3 Poets of the Sea as quickly as I can. This one is much less dense than All's Well, so I feel like I should be able to read it much quicker. So hopefully I can finish the last 150 pages or so today, so I can get this video up on time. Things did not go according to plan. Yesterday, I went to bed fully expecting to stay up until like 3 in the morning and plow through the last 150 pages of The Last True Poets of the Sea, and I fell asleep within 10 minutes. So I have not finished the book. The high achiever in me just really wants to spend all of today reading and finishing this book just so that I can upload this video having finished every single book that I started. But that is simply not feasible today because I have plans, I have a life, I don't just film videos, and instead I'm just going to give myself permission to not be a perfectionist and to not finish the book in this video. And if you want to see my final thoughts after I finished, you can follow me on Goodreads. I always leave my Goodreads linked down below, and I will try and post a thorough-ish review. However, I can give you an update as to where I am right now in the book and how I'm enjoying it so far, so I will do my best to do that now. I have been really struggling with reading YA books lately, and it's not the age. I know it's not the age because I'm still thoroughly enjoying middle grade books, and I think what it is like the angsty teen drama and like the high emotional charge in these like high school relationships. It's relatable. I remember going through things like this, but me as a 23-year-old, I have such a hard time now reading about teenagers who are going, let me change everything about my personality just so this guy will like me. Or, oh my gosh, if he doesn't like me back, I'm gonna have to like jump off a cliff because like that's the end of the world. And it's so dramatic and I can't like handle it anymore. But The Last True Poets of the Sea is very much not like that at all, and I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much. It has a lot of the fun and carefree, lighthearted writing of a YA book, but without the angst. We're following Violet throughout this book, and Violet is definitely a much more mature and experienced teenager than what we're used to seeing in YA books. She talks a lot about her life in New York and kind of the last year where she kind of went a little bit wild. Talks a lot about having a variety of different sexual encounters and being a little careless with her safety. And a big premise throughout this book is her learning to peel back these layers of experience and just let herself be a kid again. Every single mentor character in this book, and we have a few, is encouraging her to not grow up too fast, to not put herself into situations that could compromise her or could be dangerous for her, and to just return to the innocence of being a kid. And I love that premise. I think that's such a great message to give to teenagers. I also just love every single character that I've been introduced to in this book. I feel like we have a lot of strong role model characters in her Uncle Toby, in Frida the bartender, and in her mother even. There's a lot of adults who care very much for Violet and are encouraging her to be on the right path and do the right things. Toby in particular is such a fun character because he's much younger than Violet's mom, so he's kind of like the young cool uncle who's like doesn't exactly know how to be a mentor yet but is trying his best. We do also have a couple of different potential love interests at this point. She has a crush on Orion, who is a boy that she works with at the aquarium, and Liv, who's very interested in finding the wreckage of the ship where the town's founders survived from. At this point, I have really no idea if there will be a relationship at the end of the story, if she'll end up with Orion, if she'll end up with Liv. So that is to be seen at this point. I feel like she's gonna end up with Liv. But yeah, so far I am enjoying this book a lot. And like I said, it does have some heavier topics in it, but it still remains pretty lighthearted and carefree and summery, and I'm just loving the vibes, you know? So that pretty much concludes my thoughts so far on this book. Like I said, follow me on Goodreads and you can see my review when I finish. That is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys had fun. Subscribe, comment, do all the good things. I will see you next week. Bye.